In this lesson, we're going to draw and animate a mask. Okay, so the mask that I want to create is going to be a mask that basically covers up this area of the boat to make it look like waves are coming in front of it. So a mask is something that creates a see-through part of your image, or it can create a visible part of your image and then change the transparency somewhere else in the image. So there's a couple different ways that you can look at masking, but most of the time you think of the word mask and you think that covers something up, and essentially that's what it's doing. So to create our mask, I'm going to come over here and grab the pen tool. And the pen tool is one way that you can make a mask. You can also make a mask with the different shapes here, like rectangle, any of these really here can create a mask, but I want them to be in the shape of waves, so I'm going to use the pen tool because then I can draw them out. And I'm going to start over here all the way at the beginning of the timeline. So to make a mask, you're just going to click and kind of draw these different wave shapes, just like this. And they don't have to be perfect. Just kind of get them as close as you can. And you want to avoid having this happen, where you get this kind of little loop-de-loop. For what we're making, that's not going to look right. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to show you how you can fix that if you start running into that problem. So you can see as I start to click down here, it's going to make that loop again. So you can simply hold down the Alt key and click that point. And then when you draw, it's going to change the way that those Bezier curves are being handled. So you see, it's going to give me that loop again. So I'll just hold down Alt, click, and now it's going to basically come to a point and then come back down instead of trying to complete the curve. Then I can just middle click to pan over, Alt click, Alt click, and we'll just finish up those waves like that. Now I'm going to make a few waves. We'll Alt click this again, kind of zoom in. I'm going to make a few waves that go a little bit further past the boat because of the way that I want to animate the mask once it's finished. So now, once you've got it good, just kind of click down here, give yourself enough room for that animation so you make a shape like this. And you see when I close that mask path by clicking that last point, I get basically a result that wasn't what we were looking for. And that is because the default of a mask is add, which means everything inside of the mask is going to be visible and everything outside is transparent. So you can see we still can see a little bit of information there. So if we toggle down that mask drop down, we can do a couple of things. We can change the add to something else like subtract, or we can simply click inverted. And that's going to basically change what add means. It means it's going to add everything outside of the mask and take away everything inside. So it just kind of looks at how you're interpreting add if you have inverted turned on. So I'm just explaining that in the most basic way that you could interpret it to the default of what it's like. So now let's grab our selection tool. Select your mask so that it's visible, and now let's animate this mask. So if we just scrub through here, you see that the mask just kind of stays stagnant. It does move along with the rotation and position information of our image though, but I need some other keyframes for the mask, and unfortunately expressions do not work on masks, so I can't tell the mask just to go back and forth over and over. I do have to set individual keyframes for it. So we can toggle down that mask, and we've got a property called mask path, and that's what's going to allow us to move the mask over time. So I'll go ahead and set a keyframe there, and then I'll move forward just a bit, and we'll double click this mask so that we get the bounding box, and then just move it over a little bit. Then we'll go forward some more and double click your mask again. We'll move it back the other way. So we just kind of get these back and forth type of waves with the way that we're animating this. And by moving forward each time, you see we set a new keyframe on our timeline. And I can middle click if I need to pan over to see it a little bit better. And again, just setting more and more keyframes until we get to the end of that animation. And after that, we still might want to add a few more simply because our boat isn't entirely out of view of our composition on that main transportation comp. So we'll just add a couple more after that, just like this. And once you get to a point, you could even cut and paste some of those keyframes, because that isn't very difficult and it might save you some time instead of having to make them. But this is probably going to look more unique anyway, so it's fine. Perfect. So now we get kind of this almost serrated look along the bottom of the boat. If I click off here, so I'm deselecting everything, and I scrub through, you can see how those waves move across the boat and really give it the look that we have waves on the outside of our ship. Let's go back out to our main transportation comp, and I'm just going to scrub until the boat is no longer visible. Looks like that's about right here. And we'll put that into position, and we'll just RAM preview, hitting the 0 key on our number pad. And I love the way that that mask also makes that line, that white line on the map, visible through that. So it doesn't look like you just took a shape and put it in front of the boat. You can tell that it's a mask that just looks a little more sophisticated, in my opinion. Okay, so now that we have finished animating the mask on our boat, we're ready for our almost last lesson, which is going to be just a few finishing touches with some effects and some masking. So we've already turned on motion blur for most of our layers. We can go through and make sure that it's on for all of them, but we also are going to be doing a little bit of some changing to a few colors. We're going to add a bokeh effect and a vignette on top of everything. So we will go over that in our next lesson.